Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of the Chosen One podcast. I hope you're all having a good day. I'm recording this a few days after I did episode 1, and for the exact date, it is June 11th, 2020. I had a little bit of a plan on what I was going to do for my second episode. I thought about either talking about my favorite Harry Potter movies or my favorite Harry Potter books, one of them. And instead of doing an episode on that, there was actually a lot of stuff that happened for these past few days that I want to talk about instead. And they kind of it makes sense to talk about them right now because they're happening right now, and it also ties in with what I talked about in the first episode, which was the comments made by J.K. Rowling on Twitter. So we all know that J.K. Rowling made those comments about people who have their periods or people who menstruate, and she said women. That's women. Only women menstruate, and you can go look up on her Twitter and find articles about what she said and the reaction, the backlash, and everything. And in the previous episode, I talked about how that could be troubling for people who work with her, for people who are who have worked with her, and it doesn't make sense for her to make those statements when you currently have. I mean, it's never right to make them, but she's still active in the community. She's still producing. She's still writing. She's still doing everything that she was doing before, and she's still making those comments. So if you work with her, you kind of feel like you have to put out a statement, because if you just choose to work with her in silence, you may be coming off as agreeing with what she's saying, or sometimes they say silence is violence, like they've been saying in the protests that are going on in the U.S., where if you're silent when you see racism happening, or if you're not saying anything, it's kind of basically escalating it rather than de-escalating it. So the main thing I want to talk about is a few people who put out statements regarding what J.K. Rowling said, and then actually she put out pretty much an essay on her Twitter talking about her why she said those things and whatnot. But let's get to what Daniel Radcliffe said. So I have the whole statement here, and I'm going to read it. He put this out a few days ago, and this was before J.K. Rowling put out her Twitter statement. So Daniel says, "I realize that certain press outlets will probably want to paint this as an infighting between J.K. Rowling and myself, but that is really not what this is about, nor is it what's important right now." So basically, he's saying this isn't a back and forth between me and Joe. This isn't a fight. This is just what he has on his mind. While Joe is unquestionably responsible for the course of my life has taken, as someone who has been honored to work with and continues to contribute to the Trevor Project for the last decade, and just as a human being, I feel compelled to say something at this moment. Transgender women are women. Any statement to the contrary erases the identity and dignity of transgender people and goes against all advice given by professional health care associations who have far more expertise on this subject matter than either Joe or I. And that's the point that I made a few days ago when I did my first episode, was that trans people and people who identify as either a male or a female, whatever, they have more knowledge on this, and they have more information, and people who've done research and actually looked up and have actually done the proper background information and everything that related to trans people, they would know better than somebody who, like Daniel says, either Joe or I. And then he says, according to the Trevor Project, 78% of transgender and non-binary youth reported being the subject of discrimination due to their gender identity. It's clear that we need to do more to support transgender and non-binary people, not invalidate their identities, and not cause further harm. To all people who now feel that their experience of the books has been tarnished or diminished, I am deeply sorry for the pain these comments have caused you. I really hope that you don't entirely lose what was valuable in these stories to you. If these books taught you that love is the strongest force in the universe, capable of overcoming anything, if they taught you that strength is found in diversity and that dogmatic ideas of pureness lead to the oppression of vulnerable groups, if you believe that a particular character is trans, non-binary, or gender fluid, or that they are gay or bisexual, if you found anything in these stories that resonated with you and helped you at any time in your life, that is between you and the book that you read, and it is sacred. And in my opinion, nobody can touch that. It means to you what it means to you, and I hope that these comments will not taint that too much. Love always, Dan. So the last part he said there, I think, was really important, because a lot of people are having this issue with, what do we do about the books and the stories, and they really love these books, and Joe is saying these things that are really, especially for trans people, is really hurting them, bringing them harm, and they feel confused because they don't know how to feel about these books. And I think Dan is saying that, I think he has a point here, but he's also, it's hard to, a story is a story, but it really does matter who wrote it, right? How people say separate the art from the artist, but if some of these artists have done really horrible things, it's hard to separate the art. Now, I don't think Joe has gone as far as, she said some really bad things, but I don't think she's gone to a criminal level where some of these artists have, and their art is tainted. For Joe, I think she needs to either, apologize or say that she was just misunderstanding, or she didn't get it, or she was just, incorrect about this. And I think you can keep these stories that she wrote, you can keep them dear to you, you can keep them near to you, and you can hold them to the same sort of regard and standard that you held them to before Joe made these comments. For me personally, I do feel hurt that she's saying these things, but the stories are a big part of my life. I can't just ignore Harry Potter. I'm making a podcast about the Harry Potter universe as we speak. So for me, it's hard to just kind of put these stories to aside. And I think what Dan is saying is that whatever you got from these stories, you got for yourself, and keep that relationship with the book and the story private, and keep your relationship with Joe, and her words on a different side. And I think for some people it's hard to do. For some people it's easy to do. So I think that's what he's saying. I'm glad that he put out this statement. I don't think he needed to, because we know Daniel. He's the one who's benefited the most from Harry Potter, aside from J.K. Rowling. So to him, I'm sure he's conflicted. He's a little bit maybe disturbed that he has to put this out, but I'm glad that he did. He made his comments clear. And then we had J.K. Rowling. She put out a pretty much I'm not going to read her statement because it was 4,000 words, but it's really just a lot of, I don't know, if you read it, it's a lot of, first of all, it takes forever for her to actually mention trans people and their problems. She kind of just talks about herself, and she was a victim at some point, and she's kind of trying to get the audience and the readers to see from her lens. And I just think she's just really badly misinformed on this topic. I don't think she needs to be talking about this. Trans people have done nothing to you. They're not stealing anything from you. They're not asking to take anything from you. They're just saying that they want to be women, and that's all. Nothing more. And she's kind of taking these comments personal, and she's put out this very long statement that I'm not going to read, but it's on our website, jkrowling.com. You can go take a look, see what she said. And then Emma Watson put out a statement today that I'm going to read. Emma said, Trans people are who they say they are, and deserve to live their lives without being constantly questioned, or told they aren't who they say they are. I want my trans followers to know that I and so many other people around the world see you, respect you, and love you for who you are. I donate to Mermaids Gender and Mama Cash. If you can, perhaps you'll feel inclined to do the same. Happy Pride 2020. So I think her statement is pretty short. She's coming out and letting the trans people know that she supports them. And, once, if Joe's personal and private friends can't get her to, retract her statement and can't get her to sort of see the bigger picture and realize that she's being problematic, then I'm not sure who will. Daniel and Emma are two pretty big people in, not only in just movies in general, but in a lot of people's lives. They were there. So these two have put out the statement. Hopefully J.K. Rowling, I don't know. I hope she gets informed and she puts out a statement. And, what I don't get is that it's really not a problem for her. Like, trans people are not taking your money. They're not doing anything. All they want is to live peacefully, to have the same rights that everyone else has, to be called what they want to be called, and that is all. I mean, they're not stealing your womanhood. They're not trying to steal anyone else's womanhood. For the people who have transitioned to women, they're not trying to steal anything from you. They just want to be called women, and that's all. And I think it's a pretty easy thing to come to terms to. You don't have to make this a whole issue like how J.K. Rowling has made this, but that's what she's decided to do, and I'm going to follow this as it goes along. Let's see if any other people are going to put out statements. Hopefully, soon enough, this can all be put aside, and she can either apologize or come clean, or just just own up to what she said. That's all, and just realize that how much she's hurting a lot of these people who are fans of hers, who are readers, and just even people who aren't, people who just know her and follow her. She's a very influential person, and if she says something, some people will look at her view, which is wrong in my opinion, and they will take it at, oh, she's right, she's saying the right thing, blah blah blah. So I think that she should, again, get educated, listen to the people around you and what they're saying, and fix this sooner rather than later, because it's only going to get worse if it keeps continuing on like this. So that's the main thing I wanted to talk about in this podcast was that what's going on with J.K. Rowling. I don't want to talk about my favorite Harry Potter movies and books and characters and all that good stuff right now. I feel like those are topics that are probably better saved for a single podcast that is kind of aimed for one topic. So I think I want to do in the future an entire episode talking about my favorite Harry Potter movie, and then an entire episode talking about my favorite Harry Potter book, and then a whole episode talking about my favorite movies ranked from my favorite to least favorite, and then ranking the books from my favorite to least favorite. So I'm not going to do that now because, I want to do that podcast. I want to do that episode at a later time with more research and more things to say. This one is just kind of a quick one I decided to record while I was coming home. I felt like some stuff had happened lately regarding J.K. Rowling and her friends who've made comments, and it's strange because all of this is going on, and the Harry Potter at Home initiative is still going on. There's still chapters coming out. I think that the newest one was David Tennant and David Beckham. So all these things are still happening, and you could see and that's the power with J.K. Rowling. You can't really cancel her. She's like one of those uncancelable people, like Kanye, who people try to cancel him. He couldn't be canceled because they're just too powerful. They have too much influence. They're gonna be around. Powerful companies will not cancel them because they just bring too much profit, too much revenue. Warner Brothers is definitely not going to cancel J.K. Rowling. It's going to be the fans. It's going to be the people who cancel her. But then again, she's not going to get canceled as long as she keeps putting out movies, as long as she keeps putting out content related to Harry Potter, ideas, all that stuff. So, she's not going to get canceled. And I think she knows that she can't get canceled. So she keeps, putting out these statements that are just really awful and really bad. And I think, hopefully, I think it will settle down, and she will come to her senses and realize that this is not good for anybody, especially the people that you're targeting. Not good for them at all. So yeah, it's going to be another short episode today. That's all I wanted to talk about. So far, we've got responses from Daniel Radcliffe. We've got responses from Emma Watson. I think the actor who plays Cho Chang, I think her name is Katie Loang. She didn't put out a statement, but she put out a a tweet that I saw, and it said, "What do I think of the only Asian character in Harry Potter named Cho Chang?" And then underneath it, she posted a lot of Black Lives Matter links and everything. So she's using the attention from that to actually direct it to a positive cause that is currently going on. So I applaud her for that. And yeah, that's all that's really going on in the Harry Potter world right now. I'm sure there's some other stuff that I could dig up, but I really wanted to focus this episode on the reactions from Danielle and Emma and what Jo said, and the essay she put up on her website. So please go read it if you want to see what she said. It's really a bunch of just, her claiming that she's the victim and people have harassed her and called her out and blah blah blah. And it's not really a good statement at all. I mean, she spent all that time writing just to really do nothing. So thank you for listening to today's episode. I'm going to try to put out more episodes. This is my second episode that I've recorded a few days after the first one. I want to do daily episodes, but I just don't think there's that much to talk about in the Harry Potter world right now to do a daily podcast episode. Hopefully I can get there one day and maybe talk about other things, but as of now, we're doing episodes once or twice a week, and I'm going to keep it to that. Thank you for listening. If you are listening, I really appreciate it. These are my first episodes. I got 3 views on my first episode, so let's see how many views I get on my second one. But I'm glad you guys, whoever is listening, I'm glad you came back to listen to the second episode, and I shall talk to you in the third one. See you guys next time.